All right, let's jump right in. When someone says virtual reality, it's super easy for one specific image to pop into your head, right? But the thing is, we're not just talking about one thing. We're actually talking about a whole universe of different technologies, and each one creates its own unique kind of reality.
So, seriously, take a second. When you hear the letters VR, what's the very first thing you picture? I'm willing to bet for most of us, it's a gaming headset, yeah? Someone with this big old device strapped to their face, exploring some digital world. And look, that's definitely part of the story, but it's not even close to the whole picture.
Because here's the deal. Virtual reality isn't just one single concept. It's actually more like a spectrum, a whole collection of different approaches, different ways to create and, interact with these digital environments.
Okay, so to really get a handle on this, we've got to break it down. We're going to start with the basics, with a type of VR you've almost certainly used before, even if you didn't call it that.
And that's desktop VR. It's basically the most common front door into virtual worlds. I mean, if you've ever played a 3D video game on your computer, well, congratulations, you've already experienced the basics of desktop VR. The whole world is right there, just contained inside your monitor.
And the big draw here is just how simple it is, right? You use the stuff you already have, a keyboard, a mouse. The cost is super low, setting it up is a piece of cake. But, and this is a big but, there's a trade-off. The level of immersion is pretty low. You're always aware that you're looking at a screen, not actually in the world.
And that word right there, immersion, that's the key to everything. It's what really separates all the different flavors of VR. You can think of it like a spectrum, It's the difference between just peeking through a window and actually stepping right through it into a whole other place.
And you can see that whole spectrum laid out right here. On one end, you've got desktop VR, low immersion, using your computer screen. Way over on the other end, you've got fully immersive VR with those headsets for a super high level of immersion. And smack dab in the middle, that's where you find something called semi-immersive VR, which uses huge screens or even entire rooms to hit that sweet spot.
So yeah, let's talk about that middle ground for a sec. Semi-immersive VR is a really fascinating step up. It basically takes the whole desktop idea and just makes it bigger. The goal is to make that window so huge that it starts to feel less like a window and more like a doorway.
So how do they do that? Well, they use these gigantic projection screens, or something called a cave system, and that's basically a small room where the walls and sometimes even the floor are screens. It gives you this partial sense of being there without having to strap on a headset. And that's exactly why it's so valuable for really serious stuff like professional training for engineers or surgeons.
Which, of course, brings us to the big one, the ultimate experience, the one that's really designed to completely transport your senses, fully immersive VR. This is what most of us picture when we hear VR.
So what's the secret sauce? What makes it so immersive? Well, it's a whole cocktail of technologies packed into that headset. You've got a super wide field of view that just fills your vision. You have head tracking, which is huge. It means when you turn your head in the real world, you turn your head in the virtual world, one-to-one. Then there's 3D audio, so sounds feel like they're coming from specific places all around you. It's a total sensory takeover.
Now, hold on, there's another major player we need to talk about. Mixed reality. This one's a little different. It's not about totally replacing your world, it's about adding digital stuff to it. Imagine digital objects and information showing up right in your living room, overlaid on the real world. It's all about blending the virtual and the physical together.
But here's where things get really interesting. What happens when we stop experiencing these worlds all by ourselves and start sharing them? This, right here, is the next great frontier, using VR not just for you, but for collaboration.
And that is the core idea behind collaborative VR. It takes all that immersion we were just talking about and turns it into a shared space. So you, your coworkers, your friends, you can all be in the same virtual room doing things together, even if you're thousands of miles apart in the real world.
So how on earth does that actually work? Well, it really comes down to 4 key pillars, 4 things you absolutely need. First, a shared virtual space that everyone sees. Second, everyone needs an avatar, a digital version of themselves. Third, you've got to have real-time communication, voice, gestures, the whole 9 yards. And finally, you need to be able to pick up and mess with the same virtual objects. You get all 4 of those, and you've got real, honest-to-goodness collaboration.
And this quote just nails it, doesn't it? It's all about creating this feeling of remote presence.
The whole point of the technology is to just erase the distance, to make it feel like you are physically in the same room working side by side with someone.
Of course, an incredible promise like that, it's going to come with its own set of challenges. And like with any groundbreaking tech, there's always this kind of tug-of-war between the amazing potential and the, practical problems we still have to figure out.
And this really is the central trade-off we're looking at today. The benefits, they are huge. We're talking better teamwork, way less money spent on travel, and a real sense of presence when you're working remotely. But the challenges are just as real. The hardware can be expensive, you need a really solid internet connection, and yeah, some people still get motion sickness. It's a balancing act.
So, after all that, after looking at these totally different worlds, from a simple desktop all the way to these complex shared spaces, what's the key takeaway? What's the one thing you should really hang on to? Okay, here's your quick and dirty cheat sheet. VR isn't just one thing. It's a whole spectrum. Desktop VR, that's low immersion, on your monitor. Immersive VR, that's high immersion, with a headset. Mixed reality, that's when you blend the digital and real worlds. And collaborative VR, that's all about shared spaces for getting stuff done together.
So I'm going to leave you with this question to chew on. As this technology keeps getting better and better, as these virtual spaces become our new meeting rooms and hangouts, maybe just as common as a video call is today, how is that going to fundamentally reshape human connection? How will it change the way we collaborate and even how we relate to each other?
It's a huge question to think about. If you liked the video, hit like and subscribe, 5 Minute BTech channel.